Okay, today I am going to be talking about why I ended up hating watching the film Howl's Moving Castle, or at least why it was a big disappointment to me, which I didn't think it was going to be. So yeah, if you've read the title of this video, which you most likely have, just know that I am just as shocked as you are. I watched this film about a month ago, and before I watched it I heard so much about it on the internet, so my expectations were pretty high, especially because I did read the book just before I watched the film and I really enjoyed that. I thought the book was so intricately written and there was such an attention to details and the characters were really well developed. So yeah, my expectations were pretty high and I think that's where I kind of went wrong to begin with. But yeah, I wasn't going to originally make a video like this because it's not the type of thing that I do on this channel. But a month has gone by and it's still weighing heavily on my chest, and I feel like it's this burden that I carry with me every day and I just need to let it out so I can start to move on from this experience. So yeah, I'm making this video because I want either people to agree with me and show their support, or people to tell me why this film is as great as I've heard it is, because I'm genuinely confused why I didn't think it was. I thought it was going to be a film that I was going to really like, but it really wasn't. It was such a disappointment and I'm so annoyed that it is. So yeah, I wouldn't say I hated it like I have put in the title, but I hated how much it made me feel in a negative way. I kind of resent myself for not liking it, or at least not liking it as much as I thought I was going to, and I just don't want to resent myself more than I do. So yeah, that film was not very great, and I will go into more details as to why I thought it was just not that great. So yeah, there will be spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled then don't watch this video. It's going to be a bit of a rant, so we better stop now. I have so many problems with it and I'm so annoyed at that. I didn't watch it in the original language, which I think is Japanese. I watched it in English because the subtitles are absolutely terrible. I'm not going to delve into that in this video because everyone knows that Netflix subtitles are terrible. So yeah, I watched it in English and I already didn't like some of the voice acting. Not the voice acting, but the voice casting. Some characters to me just did not fit the voice at all, and I haven't seen anyone talk about it, so again, I'm wondering whether it's just me that thinks that. The characters that I really like the voices of are Calcifer, obviously, because he's played by Billy White, I think, who plays Mike Wazowski in Monsters Inc. And I absolutely love Mike Wazowski and Calcifer. He's definitely my favourite character. I also like, I think his name is changed in the film, but Michael's voice actor, who is Josh Hutcherson, I think. The other voice actor that I like was the old Sophie. I think she did a great job. The voice actors that I did not like were Howl's voice, which was Christian Bale. I don't think he fit the character at all. And then I also didn't really like young Sophie. I did not click with that. I want to know if anyone thinks that too. I am making this video and I don't expect anyone to comment on my videos because people generally don't. But if someone was interested in giving some feedback, then I would gladly accept that. Another thing that I did not like is just... I did not think the plot was very clear. I know that because I had read the book before. I thought the film would be based on it, you know, like pretty accurately at least. I know some details would get removed, like in the Harry Potter series. They couldn't keep everything that was in the books, but it was still like the same plot and universe. But to me the film was so different and it completely threw me off. And the reason for that is because I think there were so many times where I was so confused as to what was going on. Like even now, after even reading the Wikipedia page of the summary, I was like, who's fighting who? Why are they fighting? Why is Howl participating in this war? Who is the villain? And I don't know if it was just not made clear. I think I'd have to watch it again to be sure of that. At first I was like, oh yeah, this film just doesn't make any sense and it's not explaining things properly at all. But then I thought maybe it's just because throughout the whole film my brain was trying to subconsciously attach the book with the film, and I think that's where I got confused because so many things were not the book. It was just not a book. The characters were different, some characters went there. The whole plot is completely different, and I got really sad about that because I thought the book was brilliant. And it's only when I went on Wikipedia while I watched the film that I saw that it was loosely based on the book. And I think if I knew that in advance, I think I would have been more open to the film. Yeah, I didn't know that at the time, so I was really disappointed in that. And I also saw that the director made this film different and decided to add so many war elements to it because of the war that was going on at the time, and he wanted to kind of make this kind of a political film, which I can get, but I don't know, the plot of the book was so good. I don't know, I just didn't think the plot was very good in the film, and the way they approach certain things, like there's the villain in the book that is also in the film. I can't remember her name, but she's a very big villain, and she's the person who turns Sophie into an old woman. And so she's this person who you fear, and she's malicious and this force of nature not to be messed with. And in the film she is, but then 2 seconds later she's not, and then she's just this harmless woman who they decide to keep for absolutely no reason. And then she ends up being bad, and like we're supposed to be surprised. I did not know why that happened. But yeah, I thought it was a very missed opportunity to do that to her character, because she had such an important role in the book, and she was just this force of nature, and in the book she's just kind of an accessory to the story, and they again keep her, and it just made me really confused as to why they did that, and made me think they were pretty stupid characters, which you don't want viewers to think that, I don't think. A big problem for me as well was the romance, especially because, again, I had heard so much about it on the internet, and people saying, oh yeah, the director understands romance so well, and I was like, what romance? I'm a sucker for romance. I am a hopeless romantic. But I was like, where is that romance? There were 2 scenes where it was a romantic scene, and I physically cringed so hard because it just came out of nowhere. There was no build-up, there was no transition to them. You didn't even see them spend time with each other. They just live in the same castle and barely spend any time together, and then all of a sudden Sophie says, oh, I love you, and then he says, oh yeah, I finally found something to fight for, and it's you. And it's just like, where is this coming from? Where is the build-up? In the book it's so well done. Again, even if it wasn't for the book, the romance for me in the film was just so... It was basically like those, and I feel so bad for saying this again, but I feel so passionately about it, but it made me feel like it was those Wattpad stories where it's enemies to lovers, and when you write an enemies to lovers, you're supposed to make this like a slow burn story and have, you know, this transition between the two that is pretty seamless, or at least not visible. And some people, for example, writing Wattpad, sometimes they'll be enemies and then the next day they'll be lovers, and there's absolutely no reason why they would be lovers all of a sudden, because it's just not well written. And it just felt like that, because like when she said I love you, I was like, what do you love about him? You don't know him. And maybe my problem is that the timeline in the story for me was not very clear. Again, maybe my brain was just not keeping up with the story well enough. But there were times when I was convinced a day had gone by, and then they're like, oh yeah, I have been in this castle for like 3 months. And I'm like, really? I thought it was just 1 day. So maybe that had a role in why I did not see the characters connecting whatsoever. But that threw me off so much, and I'm really disappointed about it because I was not satisfied at the end of the story. I was just more baffled than anything else. I know that I talked to one person about it who absolutely adored this film, and she hadn't read the book. So maybe that's why I did not like it, and maybe my anger is basically just built on the fact that I love the book and the film is not the book. So yeah, I wonder if I had watched the film by itself whether I would have enjoyed it at all or not, but I feel like it's such a disappointment and such a missed opportunity because I just did not believe the romance, and it was the biggest reason why I wanted to watch it, and it just didn't cut it for me. And I feel so out of the loop, and that's why I'm making this video, because so many people are like, oh, I want to have a relationship like Howl and Sophie, and I don't get it, and I hate not understanding things in life. I know that there's so many things that I'm never going to understand, like how Bluetooth works, but this I genuinely want to understand, and this is basically my cry for help, because please, someone explain it to me why it's such a good story, because it was just not it for me. It was kind of like Percy Jackson, the films and the books. I had watched the 2 only films before reading the 2 first books, so I'm not really in this case, but when I read the 2 books after watching the 2 films, I was so confused. I was like, the villains are completely different. There are action sequences that are not in the films. There was this whole shift between the 2 and this huge difference between the 2, and I think if I had been a fan of the books and then I had watched the film, I think I would have gotten that same, like at least a similar reaction as I am getting with Howl's Moving Castle. But yeah, that was kind of the impression that I had. I felt like I was back in the Percy Jackson fandom, where the 2 were completely different and therefore the film was just kind of unbearable. I don't know if that's what Percy Jackson fans think. I think so, but yeah, I think I said practically all I wanted to say. I'm just disappointed in myself, in the film. Yeah, I expected so much. The worst thing is I feel like I'm the only one. I haven't seen anyone say bad things about it, so I just feel very excluded right now. So yeah. I do have to give it credit though. It was a very beautiful film with the Ghibli style, and it's not going to stop me from watching other Ghibli films, definitely. I loved Calcifer. Again, Calcifer was great, but I don't know. Yeah, disappointed in the romance, disappointed with some of the voice actors, disappointed in the story as a whole, disappointed with how they dealt with the actual like villain of the book. Yeah, I don't feel like the film ended up having that much of a villain. It was constructed weirdly to me. Some scenes I feel like they were there only to echo to the book, but they didn't really have any importance and any role in the overall story, so they weren't that necessary. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, possibly. I really need to watch it again at some point, I think, but as of now I just wanted to get this off my chest possibly, and maybe have people join me and debate about this, because I really want to talk about it and I don't really know anyone in real life that I could do this with. So if there's anyone out there who is willing to talk about it with me, then please do so, because I need help. I really need help if I don't like this film, because what the hell? I was supposed to like it and I didn't. And if anyone really enjoys the film, please read the book if you haven't. I would love to hear your thoughts on that as well. Yeah, I hope you don't hate me too much, because I do it myself. Yeah, anyway, I'm going to leave it at this. I don't know if I left anything unsaid, but yeah.